find your mom and aunt are going to tell stories. Yeah. I can say, if you want Allison in there, just start
Story
telling
time,
stories about her.
She'll,
And she'll jump in.
that's true.
So the twins are up.
I guess. Ryan sent me away and I said, if Allison's in there.
I'm partial to
Sharon, no, you need to be in this room too.
I'm listening.
No, Sharon needs to be in this room because she's, okay, let's get the board
Right
rolling.
up there.
We'll get the board
And
rolling.
Penny.
And Penny.
And Penny, yeah, let's just do that. Where's the Penny girl?
Oh, that's good.
Somebody yell back there, yell for Penny.
More chairs.
Somebody yell for
I'll
Penny.
need more chairs.
Somebody yell for Penny.
Somebody yell for Penny.
I'm gonna get a big chair.
How clear is that? Somebody, no. Yeah, yell for Penny.
Ryan be in the screen.
I didn't want to break
Yes.
the age rule.
Ryan, get over here. Let's do a cousin thing.
I'll be over there.
You gotta come tell stories to you.
Cousins are telling stories. Cousins are telling stories. I'll sit up here on a small chair.
David, get in here. Yeah, the elders can sit in front. The elders.
Sounds good.
I didn't mean you. Put Brian on the floor.
Places to the grave.
Brian goes on the floor. He's the baby.
I am the baby.
You
Oh,
are
somebody
the
has to hold me.
baby.
Somebody has to hold me.
He didn't hold you when you were the baby. I know. I hold you like you did as a kid.
Meanest.
I remember.
Yeah.
We can just stand up. I remember fighting over. Well, I think that might be hard for the camera. Oh, is my only thought. That's probably true.
Not really. That's good.
It does
One
stand
more?
up.
Yeah.
Stand up is okay.
You're fine.
We got chairs. Can we sit if we want? Is that okay? Sure. Okay. Can we stand?
You
want?
So
So maybe the tall
This is my last
people.
chair. So I can go. The chair.
Chair.
That's true.
Nobody
Are
knows.
these the only original grandkids here?
Brian.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
You're the only original grandchildren.
Brian.
Here we go.
Absolutely. They can't start without me.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm like,
Tell my
It is real.
Good enough?
She's the oldest, eldest up front.
oh, you over there.
Whatever. Wait a minute.
Meanest in front. Sit down.
Whatever.
He tells me to go sit down. Meanest in the front, you go sit down.
Yeah.
Bratty one's in the back, and that's a true story. See? Some things never change.
They can't see me.
Can you see the three little stinkers in the back? Do you have everybody?
All right.
Yes.
So,
We're all here.
Is everybody
if
good?
we can start, David, I want to hear your stories about the store and riding horses. Carol Jean was saying, no, we're telling stories.
Yeah.
Make one.
Just loud.
We
Who's
were-
going to challenge you?
We were lucky because we were city kids living in Dallas, but we got to come out here every weekend and all times in the summer. And Pop, God bless him, always had some kind of horses, little ones to begin with, and the big ones when we got to be teenagers, that we could come out and ride horses, and they would just turn us loose. I mean, we would ride all over the place. This is back when Saxe was only 200 or 300 people. So,
And lots of dirt roads.
and just, basically dirt roads. We didn't have to worry about crossing the highway. I do remember a little bit of that when we were real small. But we could just ride all over the place, got to know some of the local kids. But one of the greatest things was coming back to the store. Because the little store, it was, of course, had a little gas out front, had minnows on the end for people heading out to Lake Levon. Inside was, I can remember the deli set up and all the groceries inside. This is where those 200 people always came to get their gas, to get their groceries. So it was a little bit of everything. So it was nice. We could come in and Mom was behind the counter and we could just point out, here's the deli stuff, and we could get anything. It seemed like heaven. We could get anything we wanted
Yeah,
to.
y'all did deli, we went in for candy.
Yeah.
Always, or ice cream.
We were here on ice cream as well, but sure, sandwiches were nice for lunch too, whatever she had. But over in that small room off to the side, there was all the little 5 and 10 type stuff, toys for kids and things of that nature. And in the back of the little room was a little counter where Mom was the postmaster general for the whole area. So that's where all these people that lived out of this way, that's where they got their mail. So it was it was the center of town back when we were little kids. It was just a great place to be able to grow up.
And they were the center of a lot of people.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was TL's funeral. I was a pretty little kid, I was too little to go to the funeral. So I stayed there with Pop. And it was just me and him. And I ate candy all day long. I was sick. And I kept saying, I'm just going to have one more piece. And I'd have one more piece. Pop said, well, I thought you were just going to have one more piece. Well, just one more piece. And that was when he made me peanuts and Coke. Little peanuts in the Coke. And I was like, that looks horrible. I'm not going to eat that. And to this day, yes, RC Coca-Cola and peanuts is a treat. Really.
That's the only gum I'll drink real cold.
I think it's funny too, because when I was a little kid, I was terrified of the horses. Penny was the great horse rider. She loved horses. And I was terrified. And then I grew up and now I love riding. So it sticks in.
He had some characters in horses. Shorty was Allison. She played Shorty. And we had some other, the Shetlands, they just had some personality to
Shorty
them.
was well broken.
He was well broken.
There was about 6 or 7 of us that broke it. So you're
And we-
welcome. It was very
Yes,
tame.
and we had a little buggy that, I don't know where Pop had that buggy, but I mean, we weren't so, I think the seat would fit like what, 3 people maybe, even 3 children. So it had a little floorboard, so we'd get down in the floorboard. And I mean, we literally would get like 6 or 7 cousins in this buggy. And Sharon was
And
usually the one, I remember Dolly was, Sharon was the driver and you know. And then there was
a
a,
horse story. You may remember, Gary and Steve aren't here, but I was probably 10 years old. We had the Shetland, I know you had been 10. Had the Shetland pony back at that time. And all the brothers and wives, and some of them were all up, of course. They were sitting here on the patio up on there, watching us kids out here in the pasture riding these horses. And I was on Buck. Y'all remember Buck?
yes.
Molly?
Named appropriately.
Yeah, named appropriately. So I'm riding Buck, and he's hadn't lived up to his name. You're right, and he's bucking up and that kind of stuff. And I yelled over, "Hey, look, Buck's doing tricks." And about that time, he climbed on the back of Maud. And I can still remember Uncle Ron yelling, "Yeah, he's doing tricks." I was really don't know what was going on. But
The Buck story. After all these shenanigans with the roughest Shetland pony, and he was like a palomino, and just had a stride down, and he was beautiful. Well, Papa Bill said, "Come on, Sharon. Trust me. I will hold him." So he walked me out and around, and we got to Aunt Alma and Margaret Jane's house, and Dad stopped to visit. And I was just sitting there, and I mean, just sitting there listening to conversation, and about that fast, my feet were up and down. He threw me. Trust me.
I got it.
I got it. So Buck lived up to his name. Yes.
And then you guys crashed the buggy?
You know what? She was driving. I think Tracy was driving.
Oh, that's good.
Tracy was
Blame it on somebody who can't remember.
Blame it on the dead cousin.
Tracy, I got your back, okay? Alicia was driving. I think Tracy Sue was there.
The 3 of us.
I'm sorry, it was just the 3 of us. We were out at Shorty with Daddy.
I thought you would kill
We were out at Mom and Pop's house with Daddy. And
Hey,
Tracy, I'm sorry they don't remember you being there, but I honestly think you were there too. I really, really do. All right, well, anyway, regardless, the story goes that Alicia was driving and there was this guy, as it always is when there is a problem. So Mr. Salmon was so sweet, we'd go down his dirt road in front of his house and turn around and come back up to go back to Mom and Pop's house. And there was this guide wire that came down and the buggy wheel just caught it just right, and we literally flipped the buggy over on its side. Of course, Allison, so here's Shorty goes on his side, and we can't get him up. So of course we have this hysterical little girl, because we killed her horse. And Alicia and I are like, "Daddy is gonna kill us, like really kill us." So So we're making an escape plan, and here comes sweet little Mr. Salmon out there. It looks like you girls got problems. Please, I said, please don't tell Mom and Pop, and don't tell her Daddy. Well, of course, everybody found out. You got Shorty up, you got the buggy up.
Because I ran home to Pop because I thought you killed Shorty.
Yeah, I'm sure she was the one that ratted us out. So that was, and then the other crazy story was when the time that Tracy was on a horse named Spot, and all of us had cousins. Honestly, I think all of us girls were on our own little horses coming back to the house, and Tracy's saddle literally turned upside down, and she was on the belly of this horse, and she wouldn't let go. I mean, we just kept saying, let go! And I don't know how she did it. She said, he'll step on me if I let go! Somehow she had her head cocked to where she wasn't banging it on the ground. And I think she made it back to the driveway on the belly. We were all behind her, so that is such still a vivid visual memory of Tracy being on the underside of this horse, and I'm just going, what are you doing? Let go!
Upside down.
So leave it to Tracy to be able to ride a horse upside down, you know? And then, of course, Saxony was a place you could not get away with anything. So we all were rule followers, of course. And the one time that we decided to step out, yeah, some of them. Shemaine said, "Is Penny here? You have to protect me." Because she was really mean when she was a kid.
Michael says I'm still really mean.
I said, she's changed a lot. You're okay, you're okay. So we had, I mean, like I said, the amazing thing is that you just had free range. I mean, God loved Pop. He would go to get up early, go to the store. Mom would take care of us kids, get us breakfast and everything. She'd go up, take Pop lunch. And then Pop would come back and he would saddle up all the horses. And I remember sweat running off his nose, just dripping out there, saddle up all those horses for us. And so he would go back to the store and take his nap, and Mom would run the store, and we would just do our thing. And so I don't know who all was there, but we went out into the pasture, and we decided we were not allowed to get in the pond.
I knew that was coming.
That was the rule. You may not get in the pond. Well, we decided, how deep can that pond really be? I mean, come on. We have to find out. I don't know whatever invoked us to get into this pond, but so we just waded out in the pond, and we're like, look, it's only this deep, it's only this deep. So we're all, whoever was spending the night that night, sitting around the dinner table, and Pop said, so what'd you girls do today? He said, we rode the horses, and we played out in the pasture, and and he said, so did you go swimming? And I think we all just looked at each other like, who told? Apparently some passerby had seen us out in the pond.
And there's a whole line, and we literally walked all the way across the pond.
Yes, it wasn't deep.
It wasn't. It was way deep on all.
I think what they always was. Yeah, because they always said there might be broken glass down in the bottom. You could cut your foot.
Snakes, turtles.
So the one time we bent the rules, broke the rules, of course we got caught. So we decided to
It was also the place that you were taught to drive, probably before you went to school. Pop would let us drive.
Drive horses out, drive trucks. I'm sorry, drive trucks.
El Camino.
Oh, that's right. El Camino.
A huge black Oldsmobile. He says, "Okay, Sharon, it's your turn." I can't see. I can't reach the fence. You can do it. Only we were in and I had to back up to get out. We went around and fed every afternoon, and he would take turns and make the kids drive. But y'all probably weren't.
I was going to say, I didn't get in that.
My driving skills were scary at that time.
I guess he cut it on after you, Sharon. We didn't get to do that.
Sorry about your luck.
And Mom and Pop's house was the center of refuge. If you ever needed a place to go to the safe place, that's where you went. I mean, Sharon told us a story this morning that I can't believe I didn't know about, that when you were 16, and Papa Bill and Aunt Pat moved her to Kansas, and she was not a happy teenager about that, so she decided she was going to run away from home. So before GPS was invited, this girl
Before cell phones,
you get in your little Volkswagen, and you left Kansas?
Left Kansas when they thought I was going to dance squad practice.
And she winds up in Saxony. Took a wrong turn at highway.
I didn't know the story either.
I didn't.
Can you believe it? It was Sharon was always, I mean, you know, we're trying not to let the image of Sharon be a little tainted today. We're not gonna lie.
This is my Beatles birthday. I'm quite proud of
Let me Google real quick.
it. Olivia, I really don't recommend it, but if you ever need a safe haven,
You have to be careful with something.
I know.
Olivia.
I will be the grandmother that will sit and say, it'll feel like he's
That
going to
kid's
kill
living.
you, but he really won't kill you. Mom and Pop sat there with me probably for 8 hours or more, and we just talked and said, yeah, they're on their way. It's going to get ugly. You're safe, and they do love you. I mean, all of y'all that know Papa Bill, just imagine.
No wonder you didn't tell that story till now.
Yes, he just was 2 years out of the military at the time.
Yeah, it's still. And then Gary came to the same. He had actually. This is when y'all lived in Denison.
I was going to say, that was
That was in Denison.
That was 2 or 3 years before
And
Sharon.
we were sleeping on the hideaway bed, as us 3 girls did frequently, and we hear this little tap on the patio door, and we're like, we go, Mom, Pop, there's somebody knocking on the door. And I mean, I don't know what time, we'd never gone to bed. And, you know, so there's Gary, and he had a car accident and didn't want to tell Papa Bill. So I walked from Denison, Papa Bill, you guys
Common thread.
I don't know what the problem was, Papa Bill, because I didn't think you were scared at all. Except Rachel would say, as her thing was that Papa Bill had carried it on to all the kids, and because my children were so dark-skinned, Rachel being the first one, so it was always, she's stealing my hubcaps. That girl's stealing my hubcaps. And Rachel's like, what hubcaps? I didn't take them. I really didn't take them. And then came Jeremy, the sensitive one. And Papa Bill had something for everybody. Joshua, Pasty Boy. he had something to tease them all about. They're all about. But I just think it's just so amazing. You think about
it. It's just a safe haven. That Mom and Pop were just the example of unconditional love.
Amen.
When all of
To
the
everybody.
cousins, no matter what you went through in high school or young adult or 50, it didn't really matter. You could. The same person met you at the door and cooked for you and kept you and just no matter what.
But you know what I remember listening to Brian talk about, as long as I've known him, is when they built that house, talk about like they built it and they only had so many bedrooms.
Yeah, I was telling a story earlier.
I mean, they were always, it was unconditional, but they didn't coddle you.
No.
So the story she's talking about is they built that house when my dad was a senior in high school.
Right.
And Mom and Pop and Dad Lane and my dad were in the house. And my dad told the story forever. He was standing in the house. They were just getting close to finishing construction. And he was standing there with Pop and he said, Dad, I noticed there's only 2 bedrooms. And Pop said, you noticed that, did you? And so they finished that house in his senior year in high school. He slept on the couch. And his graduation gift was basically it's been a pleasure. And I'm gonna live somewhere else. Yeah.
But you say that 2-bedroom house, and how many people lived at Mom and Pop's house at some time?
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of us that lived at Mom and Pop's house at some point.
Yeah.
And it was there, you know, that spare bedroom was there for a reason. And I think every time
I
the
think,
Folks living there for a while.
My mom and dad?
yeah, Mom and Dad lived there when Mom was going through cancer treatment. Yeah.
They went back because the house had been empty forever, so they went in and
Yeah,
emptied
Mom was
all
still
out.
living out of
Gary and Debbie and Brad and Keith lived there.
Brad and Keith lived there when they were in a car wreck.
Do y'all remember that?
Nope.
No.
Keith was blue.
Well, you were a little bitty. I used to change your diapers. Y'all were my first one of my first babysitting jobs. You really were.
You know, it's a crack up too, because like you said, Mom and Pop are they're just so loving and good people. And I never knew him, but all I heard was stories forever about Papa being one of the meanest sons of bitches ever. And so, I mean, my stories of Papa are just family myth.
Yeah.
But I guess you guys knew him, didn't you? Dave and Sharon?
Yeah.
Was he scary?
He's scary.
I always thought Mama was
But you have to
scary one.
understand, I was Papa Bill's daughter, and as soon as Dad walked in, I mean, language like you wouldn't believe. You didn't bring that home. Evidently my dad rode a horse up on his front porch when he and Mama were sitting there in rocking chairs, and a huge full-size horse, and he just wanted to kind of liven things up and scare him, you know, and he told my dad was going to end up in the pen one way or another, with a few other colorful words. But no, it was a lot of fun getting to know Mama and Papa. But it was just they were just the house right next door. And the original house was always there, just catty corner from the brick house. And when was the brick house built?
56.
I was going to say, I didn't know.
My dad graduated high school.
Because remember, it was in the concrete in the
Hutson.
I was
59.
Well, I grew up 57, but someone said it was
It
when
was in the, it was
Well,
right
was
in
a
senior.
the driveway or the garage floor.
Dad Langdon?
Maybe
I thought it
Rip
said
up that
56.
carpet over there and see what it says.
It's 56.
I think it was 56.
they didn't do the garage and finish it until that time.
Yeah, construction was probably in 56, and that's when they finished.
Okay, so maybe.
But to
It takes
spin-
about a year.
To spin off something Brian was saying just a little bit ago about Pop and Mom and his dad, remembering, I just remember at a very early age catching on that Pop was a self-made man, a very intelligent man, you know, hearing the stories of how he worked as a kid and what all he did and earned. And then here I was at 10 or 12 years old driving around in these big expensive cars from an Air Force brat and traveling in and out, and it was this land and horses over here, and you know, it felt like to me, you know, Pop had the world. You know, Pop had the world here, and it was just open to us at the store. You know, it was just the wealth and generosity. He just truly was, but he expected everyone else to work that hard too.
Yes.
And his family, you know, but that work ethic was just.
Yeah, those stories of him when he was a young man, he broke horses for a long time, and he worked in the pickle factory for a long time, and I just
And he worked some
worked in a hat factory.
factory.
Was this all hat factory?
And
Yeah.
I think it was the hat factory that he was talking about. He'd have to walk along, because they didn't have a car then, and he'd have to walk along the railroad track to get home.
Right.
And I mean, he would, you know, telling this story to me, he'd say, Alicia, I just tell you, I just was so tired, you know, and just doing a full day, I mean, probably 12-hour day, and then walking home, and it really wasn't until I became a parent of my own. I'm sorry, I don't want to be the first one. Too late. It runs in the family. It comes naturally.
Your face is wet.
We really should
My
have
face
put a
is
pot
wet.
together
My
as who was going to go
I was gonna
first.
say, you know what? It's genetics. I claim it proudly because it is genetics. But realizing that although my grandparents had never left Saxe, I mean, they never. Truly, it may be a trip to Garland, but I mean,
They came to Wisconsin.
Okay, well there you
did.
go.
They
And I
did
didn't
go to
know about
California.
that. But that was
California.
They went to
that
Kansas
was
when you
that
were
was a
married.
big
They went to
deal.
Switzerland. His brother and dad.
Yes, they did. But at this point, they really hadn't. When I really had this epiphany of that,
Yeah.
although, I mean, they truly
Yes.
had not stepped out of Saxe basically at that point in my life. And they were the most worldly people. There was nobody that got it more than those two people.
They opened the
They
door
just-
every time to anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Anyone.
Make
They
yourself
never knew a
comfortable.
stranger.
And when you walked out the door and they closed it, they'd say, "Come back as soon as you can."
And the kids
Right.
that would show up selling stuff for school or whatever, anybody showed up that front door, Pop bought something they
Bought
had.
something. Yeah.
Always. It didn't matter what it was, he bought something from them.
And I mean, and I think they just instilled that, and that's what I think is so amazing. Looking at all of this,
Hard workers.
It is.
Hard
It's
workers.
just-
And that, you know, coming in and out and staying with them and visiting or running away and coming and sitting there. It was like, okay, Sharon, what are you going to do next? You know, we need a plan here. You know, they were there
To help you to get through,
To help, you know, yeah, you know, you've got to do something. You know,
That's it.
What do you want to happen next?
And those seeds that they planted, I
Yeah.
love the story. So my favorite thing that was said at Mary's funeral was when Sharon talked about, you know, how those cousin girls can go, "Rink, rink, 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 rink." And Mary's sitting there with all of those girls, and she was just like, "Can we just all get along? Can we just all get along?"
And I swear I remember the day on the couch in the living room.
Because it just settled with, it just resonated with all of us, I think. And it's just, and I feel like we're so blessed that we hopefully instill those seeds in all that we are able to love and touch and, you know,
You can
inspire.
tell it did. I mean,
Yeah.
look at our kids.
And that's
You know,
what I'm saying. We are very
even-
blessed.
Even our dads, you know, they had to
Yeah.
struggle quite a bit, but then, you
Hey,
know,
there's always been love.
There's always
Yeah,
been
maybe
love.
not
Lack
been
of money,
money,
those
but
four
there's
brothers,
always
I
been
tell you,
love.
they should, you know, we could have had a reality show. It's just too dang that we missed out on that. We could all be millionaires.
Could have.
Well, I
I'm
think your
telling you.
dad that rode the horse into the kitchen? No,
Yeah.
it was Uncle Bill.
That was Uncle B. It had to be Uncle
Uncle
B.
Bill, because Dad told that story forever. that
Yeah.
Pop,
I think
or
it was my
Uncle Bill
dad.
rode the horse into the kitchen, and Pop was
Really,
beating
you
the
like to
horse
ride
with
horses?
boots.
He rode
They're
horses
not
a
supposed
lot.
to
He took you everywhere where he wasn't supposed to be. He thought that they were a household pet.
Horses should be allowed in the house.
It's only
Right.
right, it's only right.
We are blessed. We are
so
blessed. We are
blessed.
blessed.
All right.
But you know, and later, Mom and Pop were the only ones left. They were all widow women.
Yeah.
And Pop became the husband for all the widow women. He'd go around, he mowed their lawns, he got their groceries, he made sure he gave them cars to rides to church. He took care of every one of them,
Community.
the
He
whole
was.
group. And the fire department, you know, he started the volunteer fire department out there. And, you know, this is later in life. I was older.
Always
And-
pillars in their church.
Yeah.
You know.
Wasn't he the interim chief of police?
Yes.
Well, he was a police officer.
He was
years ago.
part of the first Garland Police.
Yeah, he
Department.
was,
I have a
he was
picture
Garland's
somewhere.
first chief of police.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was also, he worked on the Greenville Avenue Patrol for several years, and then he became one of Garland's police officers. And if I remember correctly, there were only two, like at the time. And he used to tell a story where if he would be on patrol and somebody would call into the station for whatever reason they needed him, then they would turn the light on the water tower. So if he saw the light on the water tower, then he had to go to a phone and call the station and find out what it was, and then go out there. And Pop had fun stories from being a police officer, and he was a police officer when they bought the store. And my dad told me this story. So he basically just told Mom, he said, hey, get in the car, we're gonna go drive. And they went, I don't remember who it was, but it was a guy that owned the store to begin with. And Mom stayed in the car and Pop went in. And he came out a little later and he said, hey, we bought the store, you're gonna run it. So it was,
Surprise!
they just bought it, inventory and everything. And so the next day, yeah, she got up, walked to the store, and this is your job
Yeah,
now.
because Mom didn't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
She never drove, and
Right.
She did drive back and forth
to the store, but that
Yeah.
was it. We never
Yeah.
went anywhere else. And her education was only like, what, 10th, 11th grade?
Something.
And she
less
had
than that.
no
But-
problems running that store and
Yes.
money and,
She was the one that told me that she ran it until she started making more money than Pop was making as a police officer, and that's when he quit. And Mom is the one that said, because he didn't like that. He didn't like it. And so that's when he quit being a police
not
officer
supposed
and
to
they
happen.
ran the store, and that was the rest of their career. You know, the building's still there.
is it?
So, yeah, it's a check cashing place now.
I didn't know the building, I thought they tore it down.
Uh, Yeah,
The outside
So-
what?
Oh, I said, I looked at the building we drove in, it's
yeah.
refurbished.
Is it still pop? I don't know what it is now.
It's a check cashing store.
You did go to Paul's Grocery right over Hudson, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, he used to sell minnows there. Do y'all remember the minnows?
I
The
do.
minnow place on the side. Used to love going there with them and catch those little minnows.
When did it stop selling gas? Because they sold gas from way back in
Yeah, a
forever.
long time, but I don't feel like I don't remember.
I remember gas, but I was little, but you know, the biggest thing I remember is Daddy had an MG that overheated every time we went far, and so when we would get to Mom and Pop's store, he'd have to fill it back up full of water and gas, and that's basically the only reason I really remember there being gas
was
there.
still there.
But they did keep the store after
After
they
gas,
didn't
yes.
have gas. Right.
Yeah. I remember the store without gas, and I knew that it always had gas in it, but I didn't remember when or why or whatever.
I
they
don't
took it out and
know.
stopped
Probably
selling.
just
Might have been when it got so cotton picking expensive.
I do remember the minutes.
bureaucracy.
Every
something.
Saturday was hamburger day, do y'all remember?
Oh, my goodness,
Every
yes.
Saturday was hamburger day. She would put out a card table there by the post office in the store and bring lunch and cook ham. We'd have hamburgers out there at the store for lunch in the summertime. Christmas, it was David, Mike, Gary, and Steve, and then y'all know that myself and 7 girls. And then Brian and Wendy.
Followed after.
Between all of Mom's extra things that she did and what she sewed. Christmas
I
time.
was telling Shemaine that we all had matching pajamas.
She made dresses, she made pajamas.
She did.
Yes, organza.
That's right.
Lace trim everywhere. We were food up.
We were food up.
We had the best twirly skirts in Texas. We
She
could
did a lot of sewing.
Yeah.
She did a lot of sewing.
A lot of sewing.
Gosh, I'd forgotten about
Out
that.
of raising 4 boys, she put lace on everything.
She was in heaven.
Finally got her some girls.
Y'all have such different memories than I have, because my primary memories coming out here are the pasture
Yeah.
and being terrified because Pop had those top-knot chickens that were mean.
Hippie
Hippie
chicken.
chicken. And they literally would chase you until you just jumped over the fence.
And they
I
had-
mean,
They had those hippie chickens and you had ganders. Those ganders were mean. Man, those things were mean. But when you went out to the pasture, you had to have a stick.
And Pop would say, "Don't you hit my chickens!" Always with Mama, Lodi, "Don't you hit my chickens!"
And those, yeah, if you had a stick, you were going
They
to
were
use it. Those
so
chickens and geese were mean. And
But they would start chasing you and Pop go,
And it would stop.
well, all the animals spoke to Pop.
Yeah.
They knew better.
Animal whisperer.
And
He
see,
was
I
an
think
animal.
Jeremy actually doubted that there was such a thing as hippie chickens. See, there they
Yeah.
are.
bombed in their heads. And they were
The only thing Pop ever did with an animal was when, have this little hutch with all these little precious bunny rabbits in it that we raised and we loved and we got and then we're sitting there one day at dinner and, he's like, how's that chicken, Lainey? How's that chicken, Alicia? Whoever else is sitting around the table. It's really good, Pop, really good. We should have known something was going on.
Try.
Well, couldn't find out it wasn't chicken.
Yeah.
I'll just
When
let
you
you
went
figure
back
that
out after
story
dinner,
out.
there were no bunnies to play with.
Yeah, we go back to the hutch.
Like, where'd the bunnies go?
Where's the bunny I played
Sold
with?
them.
But start trying to
That's
make
what he would
fried
tell us, that he
chicken,
sold them.
and you can't make it taste like Mom Hutson's chicken. You want to know why?
Yeah, it was.
I tried and tried. I was grown before I found out they
Try
were
bunnies.
Yeah.
I tell you, but those Sunday dinners, she'd get up before we'd go to church, and she'd start cooking, and we'd get home from church, and I mean, there, like Nancy was saying, 17 different items that you would have for just a Sunday meal. And I remember in the very beginning, I mean, all 4 brothers all of us cousins would be up there every single Sunday. You guys lived far, so you'd be there when you could.
No, but I remember on Sundays when you guys were there before you moved to Kansas. I do.
Denison. Was he
Denison.
I guess
Denison?
Well, they did when
Yeah,
y'all lived
4
in
years,
Yes.
every Sunday.
Because it
Yeah.
was every
Well, that
Sunday.
was one of the deals. Mom and Daddy used to say, if you were in town, you will be at Mama's.
Well, possible Sunday, yeah.
And that's it, family tradition.
And that's the other thing. So I come in now, and I walk into the house, and it's like a closet. It's so tiny. But
The
when you
house
come up
shrunk. I don't understand.
every Sunday, Mom and Pop, all 4 of their boys, all their wives, and all their kids.
Each one had 3
Yeah,
kids.
and all these people would be in this house, and I remember it. There were 2 reclining chairs and a couch and a TV and that little saddle ottoman that's in your house in Colorado now.
And a stationary
And
bike.
yeah, the stationary bike and the dinner table, and everybody would sit down to dinner, and that's it. The adults were at the table, and the kids were at the kid table, and I can't put in my head together how that worked. When the house,
Because there were 11 grandchildren born within 16 years.
right? Yeah, there were 12 total, but the 12th one came later.
I never
Right, yes, right, yes.
She's younger than my daughter, so
Yeah.
Mom Hutson said she never did see her as a grandchild just because of where she came in. She was
Right.
And speaking of Wendy, I never heard Mom Hutson say a cuss word her entire life. And when Kathy was pregnant with Wendy,
Right.
and she said, yeah, they said that they're going to name, if it's a girl, they're going to name it Wendy Dawn. And I said, and Mom said, well, what are they going to name it if there's twins? Wendy Dawn and Shitty Weather? She's like, Mom! It was hilarious. I was just like, she saved her one cuss word. It is really funny.
She'd been sitting
Don't
on
be
that.
mad at me for telling, okay? It was really funny.
Awesome. And it's funny, we were talking yesterday, like I said earlier, you know, there's such an age spread. So David's the oldest and I'm the youngest, except for Wendy. And we had very, very different experiences out of Saxon, right?
Yeah.
Like by the time I came along, you guys were adults and I don't know, y'all came to the big boys.
Excuse me, he likes to play this baby.
I remember they were
I'm the baby.
It's because we ruined him when he was a baby because we all fought over who got to carry Brian around.
He had one, I bought it for him.
Yeah, that's right.
But I bought mine and said, Mom loves me best.
But like like I was saying last night, I don't remember Nancy not being in the family. Right? I don't have much memory before that. And just there's so many things that people talk about, like, I don't remember that part of it. And it's interesting to hear the different stories. You know, like David, I know you were around, like your Papa was around and you got to know them. I just heard Papa's myth and stories.
Uncle Charlie.
I remember Uncle Charlie because he lived right behind the store.
He lived right behind the store.
And that Christmas he made cabinets for all those little girls, those precious little, you and Tracy still have yours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you really?
I want to hear about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. I guess he didn't like the
Pop's
grandsons.
brother. He was the sweetest.
He was just too many. And he always had dentin gum. Dentin gum. Let me get you some gum. And we stop by and say, hi, Uncle Charlie. Let me get you some gum. Let me get you some gum. Sweetest. And then there was Uncle Ben. He was like Pop's twin and looking like it. Talking about the sailor talking. Oh my gosh! Because first time I met him was when we took
Ben's wife. And so we drive down there. And Rosalie. And we drive down to Houston and we go in and Dad's just talking and, you know, I've been around Mom and Pop. And we walk in the door and this man, geez, he said words I hadn't heard think about my daddy. And Daddy laughed at me. He says, I went so white as a ghost and just stood there and went, who is that?
That looks just like Pop.
Oh my goodness, his mouth.
Yeah, it doesn't sound anything like Pop. The first time we met him, so I can't remember, I think y'all were married or you had just gotten married. And of course, so Daddy, it was very important, you know, we had Nancy's mother with us. And Daddy started sweating before we walked in the door. And I know he tried to prepare grandmother Mom. He tried to prepare grandmother Mom, but there was just no preparation. I don't know. And sure enough, we got in there and he didn't hold back at all. It just, you know.
Well, the first thing he said was, oh, so you married a rich one this time.
And Mom just laughed. And she said, oh my. She said, oh my. I know she did. Oh my, what have I gotten into?
I'm loving it because Uncle Jerry warned Mom.
Yeah.
My mom tells the story the first time she came out here and met Papa and Mama. They were bedridden.
And you gotta remember,
But my mom
was a Baptist
was,
daughter.
she had crinoline skirts and white gloves and I guess probably a pillbox hat and walked in there and Papa literally felt her up and said, sit down here and was cussing like a sailor. I mean, my mom telling this story like, are you kidding me? But yeah, and Dad just stood back and laughed about it. He didn't warn her at all.
Welcome to the family.
You passed the test.
I love it.
Hey, do y'all remember one time we had an Easter egg hunt and y'all went out and it was Terry and me and I don't know, I think Penny and Brian too. And we weren't getting enough Easter eggs, so me and Terry said, we'll get them. And we sent y'all out in the mud. Oh, muddy. Man, y'all got in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bobby, we kind of remember things like that.
Oh, God.
That is funny. That is so funny. We were suckers.
Mom Hutson's sense of humor is low. It just would come out just so subtle and just so quiet like that. We had like a mock, if you will, wedding for my parents in Mountain Valley on their 50th wedding anniversary. It was kind of a surprise. They didn't know, but Mom came up and Mildred and all. Gary, I don't know how many of you came, guys, but I know Gary was there and Tracy made it and the kids and you guys were little.
Yeah.
And all this came right in the middle of it. I rented a wedding gown. They eloped. If you didn't know, mother and dad eloped when mother was in nurse's school. So here we are, and Mom leaned over to me and she goes, I'm sure glad they're getting married. I guess they've been shacking up all these years. I guess they've been shacking
She
up.
really was a funny lady.
She was our
She really was.
She was so funny. She's so quiet. She just
Oh, she can make herself laugh more than she cracked herself. She get tickled at herself more than anybody else.
She laughed at herself as much as
That's what I was saying. She gets so tickled. I just couldn't stop laughing. She had a great
So,
sense
Uncle
of
Jerry,
humor.
I was talking about it, I was thinking about it earlier, but where was Mom born and where was Pop born? Were they born like right here in Saxe today, or?
No, they weren't born right in Saxon. In fact, Mom was born, I can't think that, in more East Texas.
Okay.
And it wasn't even Dallas County. Pop was born in Dallas County. Might have been called it, I think it was Dallas County.
Because Pop told me that Papa came here from Tennessee,
Correct.
right?
Really?
And Pop was born here.
And Dad Lane also came from that area.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Right.
that.
And he came on the wagon train by himself.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
By himself. And,
Instead of that Volkswagen Beetle, huh? Hitched up a horse and let's go to Saxe.
I want to get back in history and say it's just in my DNA.
There you go.
And so, I've heard mythology 1,000 times, but what's your story about how Papa and Mama met and got married? I don't know what to believe.
I don't know if I even know the story.
Really?
They were always married when I
They weren't just
They weren't just shacking up.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know that, the Hutson and Lanes were neighbors, farmers, and all
Right.
that. And so Mom and Pop went off and got married at 16 and 17.
Right?
And Aunt Lala, Bob's sister, married Ted, Uncle Ted,
Right?
Bob's brother. So that's when we got some double cousins involved.
Is that what happened?
A couple of double cousins.
Yeah.
But I really don't know.
Huh.
Before Mama and Papa.
No, it goes
So
way
when
back.
did the Lanes move to Saxe then? Because
Well, they, again, they were farmers, and but as far as, and like they Grayson County comes to mind, but I don't know. As far as when they moved into this area,
Dad Lane was from Corsicana, right? From what I'm remembering.
true. And Mama and Papa, they formed this. I can know they were always sharecroppers. And but they had a place up close to Murphy's. And I guess that's the first place I remember. That wasn't the first area. LV now, he became really well.
Right.
Detail. In detail.
Man, that man can remember
They
details.
lived up there, and of course, Uncle Ben and them, I'm not sure, I think they may have lived in Oklahoma at that time, and Uncle Charlie, I'm not really sure, I'm not sure when they went to the Carolinas. But, they'd call, come in, but they were always here, in fact, we'd always have to get together at homecoming time, which was, when we go with them. And everybody, when they come up there, they all come up with their pistols and everything, and they run these pigs over there, and they go tell them, crap out, I don't know how to get them to shoot each other. That poor pig is little, and then they go, they'd slaughter it and all this, and all this kind of stuff, and then when they would start putting all the parts, and they do the sausages and all that kind of stuff, and that was always a big family thing.
Wow.
What a gathering.
So on the next family reunion, you need to bring a firearm. And a pig.
We are not slaughtering a pig, okay? I'm just telling you.
And there needs to be a giant pot and a sausage bag.
We need to wait for the first frost then.
Because I remember Pop making Gary wing string with chicken neck.
One of my favorite memories is that Pop was he so adored Mom. So adored Mom. Snooks. called her Snoop.
Snoop. They called her a few other things.
But the only time I really ever saw him angry with her, everything Pop had was for sale.
Yes.
I mean, it was for sale. So Pop was off doing something. He wasn't at home. Somebody came by and said, "Was it a wagon?"
No, it was Dolly.
It was Dolly.
Dolly.
Dolly the horse.
Short Shetland pony.
Somebody came by and wanted to buy Dolly, and Mom, she knows Pop sells everything, and it was a great price, and she sold Dolly.
Well, Papa said $200. Nobody paid $200. Well, he was working. The guy came by and went out and pasture and everything. Came back over. How much you want? Papa said $200. Okay, sold. We both Dolly up. Took over Dolly. Man, she was so proud. Pop said, "Where's Dolly?" Sold her. What?
But I got the $200.
I remember that after that day or the next morning, he took off looking for Dolly. And he brought Dolly home.
I'm not sure what he paid for Dolly, but
Never everybody paid. Mom was so proud to sell it. You said it, nobody will buy it.
That's probably the last horse Mom sold him, I guess. Like, you be in the horse business. I'll take care of the
Buried
store.
right
I
out
was
in
gonna
the
say-
corner out there.
Yeah,
Those were pet. Shorty was buried.
Yeah, and the buggy was put on top of Shorty's grave.
Oh.
And that's
I
where,
remember that. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
like when we moved in, that's where Pop put that, and it never moved, it was never driven, never ridden, it never moved.
Now, how you were in the buggy that turned over?
We did that somewhere. We already, Tracy was there. Tracy was not there.
It wasn't us.
Yeah, whatever.
I was there when those two went.
I was gonna say, 2 out of the 3 that are here to say don't remember Tracy being there, but this one's insistent that she was.
We ran up to Mr. Salmon's door, that's why I know she was there, because you stayed there with the crying child who was having a conniption fit over the shorty, laying on the side. You killed my shorty. You did not. You were there. You stayed there.
You killed my shit.
Yeah.
Tracy and I ran up and knocked on the door, and that's when Mr. Salmons came down, and he was like, "Looks like you girls have a problem."
I did see that, I know for sure. Do you remember when we learned to ride the horses? When Pop,
They put us
Uncle
on it?
Jerry, and all of them, they put us on, we were kids. And even Shorty, they put you on the horse, and they walk up and down Billingsley, and that's how we learned to ride the horses, was just these guys walking and talking, and we were behind them with Shorty, who he wasn't gonna go anywhere. And Dolly, Pop held on to the reins, because she might.
Cracker was another one. That was my horse. Cracker was on it. Well, I got
Sunboy
there,
was my
took
horse,
off.
and he bit.
And of course, there was never a person that wouldn't stop and help you, and this horse took off with me. You know, I fell off, got my foot stuck in the stirrups, dragging me through the, weeds or whatever. I finally get loose, and there was somebody this man had stopped, I don't know who it was, he stopped and he helped me get Cracker back, and he's like, "Okay, you need to get back up on the horse." And I'm like, "I am not getting back up on that horse. I will walk this pony home." Cracker, I know, right, it was just right around the block. He said, "You gotta get back up on the horse, trust me." Trust me. No sooner he got me back up on that horse, off he goes. Thank you! Just give me home. Give me home.
Well, yeah, the beauty of this group here, this used to be a gathering place on the weekend. We'd all come out, but they wanted to live here. And with Bill was adopted. I don't know
That explains.
That's what they always say about you, because you were darker than everybody else.
Our little Mexican
Bad
dad.
news to everybody, but Bill was adopted. But then, of course, the Air Force, they moved them all over the place. But when they came in, it was a big.
Oh, yes.
But the beauty is, as I said, they grew up, this was a place, this was home for everybody.
Right.
Bob always had the horses, because he had the geese and everything.
The goats.
But, beautiful memory.
Yes.
Lots and lots and lots.
I know. I'm sorry you weren't in here in the beginning because we've been talking about how much that's always been our safe place.
Sharon ran away to Saxby. Gary ran away to Saxby. We always came to Saxby. Oh, I remember one time I lied to my daddy about a car, and I don't know, I was sitting on the swing with Mom and Pop. You talk about waiting.
Oh, that swing. All right, I have to tell this story. Oh, is my wife still here? No. So when I was little, they had that porch swing on the patio, right? And Pop and I would sit there and eat cheese and crackers and sardines, right? And you mean girls
whatever.
would stand there and make fun of us. I can't believe you're eating sardines. I can't believe you're eating sardines. And I have this vivid memory. I was like, why are they making fun of me? These are so good, right? And so Pop would, with his pocket knife, would cut a hunk of cheese off, poke it, and feed it to me. Right? And I was probably 8 or 10. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever, right? So flash forward 30 years, and I'm sitting in the living room with my son, who was about 2 or 3 at the time, watching TV or eating cheese and crackers, and I'm cutting that cheese off and stabbing it and putting it in his mouth. And Kim came into the room and saw me put that knife in his mouth. That is probably the closest we ever came to getting divorced. She
Is this the same one that held him up in the face?
Yeah!
In the kitchen at Saxby.
Oh my God, and she's screaming at me. And I'm literally standing there like, I don't understand why you're even mad. I don't get this. Pop, literally, Pop did this to me forever. I promise I have no cuts.
Do y'all remember the time? Okay, I don't know if Sharon was there. I for sure know that I know Tracy was there this time, and maybe Mary too, but Pop's sitting out there chewing his tobacco, and for some dumb reason, we agreed to taste it. Oh my gosh. Like, I think months later, I still was sick. I don't know. We couldn't get that stuff out of our mouth fast enough. And the thing is that when you wised up, you knew when Pop had got this smile. I mean, kind of just like he's like, you just take a little pinch, just take a little pinch right there.
Pop got me on that.
Oh.
He had 2 times that I can flat remember. I think Pop literally fell to the ground laughing. One of them, I was little and I was in the back of the truck, and there were these high school boys, I guess, who were baling hay, right? And I was baling hay. I was just riding the back of the truck. And high school boys start pulling chaw out. And I remember I looked through the glass to see if my dad and Pop were looking. And I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. And I'm putting it in my mouth, and I can look through the glass, and I see Pop and Dad laughing. I was like, okay, good, they don't see me. Man, about 10 minutes later, I'm on my hands and knees throwing up.
Oh yeah, they saw you.
Pop's, he's hanging out the window, laughing, and he goes, hey, get back in the truck. We got work today. I'm like, oh, I'm sick. Yeah, I know, get in the truck. But I tell you, this is one of my most vivid memories ever. Oh my God. I had Pop's BB gun, which I still have. And I was hunting the great game out here, right? I was right here. And I remember Pop and Gary and my dad were sitting on his El Camino. You were probably there too.
Yeah, probably.
And I saw a bird in the backyard area, and I was going to shoot it. And they started laughing. Everybody's laughing. I turned around, I was like,
They're scared away.
and I laid that BB gun down on that barbed wire, on that electric fence. I was a little kid. I jumped back, and I can remember I turned like this, and all of those men. My dad was literally laying on the ground laughing. Gary was he was literally sitting down there crying himself laughing. I ran inside and told Mom.
And she took care of you, right?
Yeah.
Get them the thigh laid out.
Yeah, whatever. I remember.
Monkey blood.
Oh man.
Oh gosh, she did like that monkey blood or whatever. The thigh laid.
Yeah, the thigh.
Like, really, Mom? It's okay. I promise. Okay, I'm good. No, just get it on there.
So it's awesome. I mean, you know, we get to grow up in a place like this and have all that freedom and that connection, and now we get to come back here and touch base.
And it's not near as big as it was when I was growing up.
I thought the house was 10,000 square feet.
It's
and I thought
because
the
it always
was
seemed like
1,000
it. There was
acres.
always plenty of room.
Right.
Always.
I think that was their open arms.
Yeah, because I'm walking in the bedrooms going, I swear, they're going bigger than that, you know? And you could get all of us in the pink bathroom together, okay? And we were doing all this stuff, and you're looking at
You could hide in the little pantry when other people were in the going bathroom, and if Sharon wasn't telling on you, you'd never have known. Jesus, it's not my fault they came in there to pee while we were playing hide and go seek. I don't know what to tell you. I was too frozen, and we didn't. Tracy was. I know the three of us. It was Alicia and me and Tracy in the little hamster.
hamster.
Close hamper. Anyway, and we're just in there, so we didn't look at anything. We didn't see anything. Sharon comes into we're in there hiding in our hiding place. No, Carla came in. Carla's the one that came in and peed.
No,
and then when
Johnny. Where's Carla and Johnny?
No, Carla went in and went to the bathroom. She leaves, and then apparently Sharon was in the hallway waiting for her turn next. So then when we came out and, we're in the bathroom, she's like, I'm going to tell on y'all. Anyway, was that fun at the time place?
Yes,
I think this is a
best.
good place to let everybody know, that, well, I'm beyond retirement, but anyway, this group right here is now going to be heading up the family reunion staff. They're
You're going to have a.
Lord have mercy. Let's all take a moment and pray. I'm not sure we will ever, I don't know, Brian, I think we're going to turn it over to you. You and Sherry. You and Sherry. I don't know. You all know I think everybody did a great job. Everybody. We were in Colorado where it started. It's been an amazing run, and it's been an amazing run, and now that all four.
Yeah, we have all taken a turn. So really, I think we need to have a business meeting and see what we're going to do.
Jason and Chris.
I was gonna say, Jeremy and Rachel, Jacob.
I think we've had a turn.
We gotta keep it connected. Jacob honestly said the reason, he said, Mom, I really don't have the money to go, but I'm telling you, I'm so tired of going and people thinking I'm a friend of the family. I'm like, baby, I'm sorry. You were born in California.
Yeah, he's from Cal, right? Born in the wrong state.
That's it, exactly. You gotta reconnect them all. Keep this going. Keep this going.
Isn't he the only one that was born in California? All the rest of them were born
Yeah.
here.
Everybody else is
I mean, all
So
my
it's not
family
a
was
sexy story, but I love the story when Elaine moved to California.
Oh, yeah.
And what, like 11 of you were living in Lisa's house?
There's only 10 of us.
All right, 10 of you. When I was in California this year and you were telling that story, I was
Because we
stunned.
finally, the plan was John and I and our two children were going to California to reestablish and, just start anew. And Elaine and Gary were coming the following year because we were going to start a restaurant, and Gary's the contractor.
6 months later, it'll be established.
Gary, the contractor, was going to come out and build the second restaurant. We had the financing. We had John's brother was on board, the whole thing, and so we had this great master planner. I would have never walked out of that house in that suburban, gotten in that suburban, and gone to Folsom, California. But we did, and as soon as we get there, John's brother decides, well, I'm done with the restaurant business. I'm going to sell it, and I'm moving to Vegas. So here's my husband, unemployable, unmarketable, has always worked for himself. He's 40-something years old, and finally, after 6 years, 6 years later, I called Elaine and I said, you better get packed because I'm coming to get you. So, well, let's not talk about the packing, okay? We get him to California, and I just said, we'll just stay in my house and we'll get it established. Elaine and I started Joy of Children in California, and we had 10 people living in a 3-bedroom house.
Something like Mom and Pop did.
3 bedrooms. As soon as we got it, so we had John and I and Jacob were in our bed. There was a little loft off of our bedroom, and Jeremy and Joshua slept in the hideaway bed there. Lauren and Lindsay the boys had bunk beds, but the bottom bed was bigger. So Elaine and Gary slept in the bottom bunk in the boys' room, and Lauren and Lindsay slept in the top. And Rachel had a room all by herself. Rachel! Okay, and as they will tell you, remember when we said we still call her the princess and the pea? No, it's because just like Penny, she was a scary little girl.
nobody or 12. Sorry to
She was
share
12.
all my cousins and brothers.
Let me
Olivia, how old are you?
You got a room anymore.
Okay.
They took my room.
Olivia is 13. She is a very pleasant, and very nice, a very sharing person. I'm sure if people came to live with her, she would say
She looked back at her parents.
don't even think about it. And they all ran. I had to check in with Rachel anytime I wanted to use. These were landline days, and so if I ever wanted to use the phone, it was just like, Auntie Mom, how much longer are you going to be on your phone? So, the good old days.
11 of us. So fun.
We did it for 9 months. We did it for 9 months.
When they
Rachel had
left,
personality, I guess.
when they left Garland, it was like the Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay, Nancy said we weren't going to talk about that.
The wagon was
Gary, we literally are going down the highway.
Okay.
We've had a lot of therapy since we moved to California. We got that.
We got
But we
this.
are going down a highway that we are towing. So he's got, I don't know, God bless Gary was convinced we weren't really going to do this. Some people have an issue with hoarding. It's not hoarding, but it's just, I don't know what to call it. It's not. You might need that, so don't throw it away. One day in my life, I might use this, so I cannot leave it behind. So he literally had this old truck of his loaded up to the hilt, and it was hitched on the back of our U-Haul truck. Well, we're going down the highway, and here comes his truck going down the side. I mean, literally had come unhitched and gone, and this was a busy highway in Denton, somewhere, I think we were. We hadn't even gotten an hour out of town. We're headed east. We are so far behind schedule to drive 36 hours out to California to be there on Monday morning to start our in-home preschool that started, where she's had at her house, and I don't know, it just, so we got to drive 2 U-Hauls back to California, and one of them had his truck in it. We just said, should I just leave you in your truck here, and you can just get there when you can? I don't know.
Didn't you drive away and you had to leave some stuff at the house?
A great big old pile of stuff! Great! You guys, let's not get all the dirty laundry out. No, all that truck needed was Granny's rocking chair on top. I mean, it was it really what neighbors were coming out looking at us. Y'all are really gonna do this, huh?
It's because you had to edited.
Yeah, it was like, you're really gonna drive that. I mean, he had stuff like falling off the side. I'm not kidding. It was the Beverly Hills. Oh my gosh, we are such freer people now. I don't know. But the thing is that if it had not been the genes of Mom and Pop and the whole Hutson thing, we would have never ever made it through that perseverance to do it. But for sure. Hey, enjoy children's stuff.
Perseverance, that's right.
That's a good place for a break, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. All right.
You're in charge.
Mine's not a pig.
Those are all the stories we know. We don't have to tell them.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
See what happens when you put this group together?
That's the Gulf Shores. That's it. No, Jason and I were talking about for the next reunion, Gulf Shores.
Gold Shores or
Gulf. It's not, it's in Alabama. It's a foreign. I've heard about it. It's amazing. It's beach houses. I mean, they're like on the beach. And theirs has a pool in it.
That part of the tree on that part.
I really think, yes, I really think they would go to the
This is technically the last year we're gonna do this like this. I mean, we're gonna do family reunions, but the end of July. No, that's here anymore. The house isn't even here because I couldn't get out. Part of this was done for Friday. Part of this was done there. Daddy was absolutely insistent that family reunion be the family home. I mean, we weren't even, we were talking about it. We're just like, nope, that's not what we're talking Right, I didn't understand this. I had nothing to do other than I was smart enough to stay out of the way. But Brian and Nancy did this.
Our mortgage is just breaking. Outrageous situation. I don't know. I mean, I just said, if we need to stay and fight, we'll go stay and fight.
Cape is under there somewhere. Your cape is under there.
Well, we didn't expect it to just we got hooked up with a real estate agent who was basically trying to win a truck. And he worked his way out of Denver and had a dark position. So we really had to do it, know it's sold. And I got a call one day, said, well, you tell them to sign a lease. Lease for what? Well, lease your building. So we had to pay $9,000, $10,000 rent.
Which is very unusual.
Up front, plus sign a lease in 90 days, you get 90 days, every 90 days, so to leave. Well, the frustrating part about it is that this is my 30th year. I'm on the historic side of the president, I'm dreading the tip board. I regularly present things at the city council, and there was one time it came to us and asked us all my daughters, and that's unacceptable.
That is unacceptable.
Yeah, and I know the mayor, if I can mayor, they come back here, but, love the city, they're good people. It turns out that the guy that had the mortgage, held the guard position here, and told everyone, we gotta have a percent. That was not true. He also said that, well, there's no, they have zoned it where there will not be, they're rezoning all this area down here, like the comprehensive plan, they've already done that. And they were going to zone it where they won't be. Yes, yeah. And we were told, well, he told us that they zoned it where they will not be allowed to take care centers. That's not true. We found that way. So we figured, well, we couldn't do anything about it. And once we found out, it started, so without doing just the majority of the amount. By that time, she got most of the money. The girls not able to. We just paid down $46,000. That's all it was. On the property and everything. So it's not a pleasant situation. But the good Lord figures out things,
It's very fun out here. Are y'all not relocating?
No, my daughter's had teachers for 2 days. And we're gonna stay here as long as, we get we got a couple of men that are just, they take care of things, and my daughter is still alive. She on her
Well, I don't know, I
28th
think
year.
the days.
Wow.
Well, I know a lot closer than what we used to be.
She was 2 days and 28
But
years.
we got a lot of people up there.
Where do people like that come from anymore?
They almost non-existent, but seriously, they've taken things for granted. And their office manager, City Grace, I think y'all probably talked to her, she's one that's on. We've known her for 30 years, she's a good
No, we
friend of our
didn't.
family.
Back then, I
So,
wouldn't-
yeah, it's rocking along,
No, but you know.
but,
what
you
I'm
know,
saying?
it just, it shouldn't have happened.
I'm
That's just not the way it should be. They figured that out.
There's always one.
You know.
Oh, my
John's
goodness.
already there.
We got through it.
Well, they, by now, they could, oh yeah, we could go somewhere else, but the girls have totally lost their.
Camera full of music.
And this, you know. Well, it feel like, you know, after 30 years, there is no family in our area that has consistently for 30 years been supported the city. We've been in everything they've had, it's like ball teams, parade, we've had, you know, every kind of awards, and so it's just like we can't just keep it go away. If that was not the city, if I thought the mayor and the city manager and the EDC director knew about it, we would have done something. But they were completely lied to. And so it wasn't really their fault, but still, yet they should have at least come and said.
I didn't know you guys were going to sale. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, we knew there was a sale. He came to, but we were told it never happened. The EDC didn't want to spend money on it. It'll never happen until after it's too late.
What we used to play
And
together.
by then,
We
you know, we
did.
couldn't really.
Church. Bus war.
It was,
Kind of out of your
it
league.
was out
Come on,
there,
Jack.
unfortunately.
Do you know what the plans are?
Well, from, you know where Saxon Road and Fifth Street run together?
Yes.
From that point all the way across here, across the street, and over 2 blocks, It's rezoned, to make a downtown, old downtown. So every Friday, you get this last night, they have them here, they call it backyard on Fifth, maybe they sign right here. They have food trucks coming in, they do this like 5 weeks. They're trying to get people ready.
I'll tell you, there's four,
Used
I
to
didn't
coming
know.
down here for, they're trying to build restaurants, walking paths, they're gonna redo the streets, fix the streets up wider, put a walking path on one side, bicycle path on that. Try to get people to come here. It's actually growing like crazy.
No joke. We almost got lost.
Moved to Saxon, it was like, how did you find?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's a this area here. I mean, we were all, we already had plans to be complimentary. And so that's another thing that's kind of
I did last year.
just very unhappy.
I just can't even imagine, because honestly, if we just can't tell you how much it meant to us that when we had the house, preschool with the twins and sisters. Yes. I mean, we were just, it was amazing. We've just been so happy. So blessed that y'all have never. It's a happy story. And you're right, I didn't know anything. You got it.
No, and it's always, people get treated, it's just not the right way. And it's just one of those things, you really can't blame people, except for just really, you know.
Took advantage of us, right us.
He promised to build the girls' school, and we didn't need anybody to buy the property, we had money to buy the property, but my daughter didn't have the money to go to school. You in school, you gotta have a major.
You gotta find that gold coin.
So that's what we did for him. Well, he never did, he never did. And lots of money, perfect credit score, so he said, well, you know, if we take this loan and put it in my name, we get a lot more interest rate. That's probably the worst mistake I ever made in my life, because then we had no control.
in a leadership
So,
spot.
Yeah, I knew she wasn't gonna be able to pay.
and so it's so.
And you know, you just want to be able to be a trusting person, and someone that
All the
you
labor
really
on
with, that's telling you this is going to be beneficial. And
Soccer, football, wrestling, lacrosse.
Well, a banker up here that's the regional president, I had Warren, of course, that's after.
No, I graduated in
And
December.
after the meeting, after all this happened, I did a meeting.
He has to go to work in January.
Didn't surprise me, did it?
Whole bit.
Well, no, she knew what it was, that was not a totally
In
unexpected
January,
thing.
I'll
And
start
that was
my
a bank
teaching
thing,
program.
but she had no control over it.
And that'll give
You
you
can
half
pay off the
the
loan,
master's
you know,
education.
but
And I work at the camp that I work at right now for another summer.
it's just frustrating.
And do a year-long
We've got
internship there. And my
Loyal
fiance will graduate that following
kids,
December.
so we've got a whole list, and I'm fortunate stuff.
Moved down south away from their mama too. But she's from
Well, I
Kirkville.
think I still live there. Well,
You will
there's
not get
9
back
people
and
in my
move across
family
the
that
pond.
have
You're not
been
even
all
gonna move up
out
here.
to support the city for 30 years. I've done all sorts of wars and flags. In school, personally, as well as collectively.
You know, my daughter-in-law is from England originally, and that's their grandmaster.
So when does this meeting ever goes wrong,
What's that?
like the city council meeting?
Well, it's every 2 weeks, they have a city council meeting, so actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a picture of this there and say, well, this is something that's gonna be gone, this is different. This is like, you know, that book that's up there that's got the landmark. I'm not sure if that house is in it.
Good job,
It is, but it's like destroying one of the landmarks of the city. So anyway, we're gonna, and I'm gonna be polite, I'm not, we'll do this. Oh, if you make them mad, then you'll come back later.
Do you have any idea? Jared, have a good school year. And then what year is it? Junior, senior? Senior.
I'm not real sure yet. I'm gonna go to community college first, but I don't know.
There you go, got a plan.
You too.
Take care.
That's good.
Yes, it is. That is. Oh, I love you.
You got about
Hello, you have people to visit with and things going this evening.
I think that they plan on sure I will. Be able to come see the house, but I'm not really sure what the status is on that. But we will definitely be around. So I don't know, what are y'all thinking?
Just kind of to help if we can help.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then we'll, be back at the hotel. We don't have anything in the morning. We're gonna go see family over in Arlington. After breakfast, so
We're going to Arlington or we're going to Raleigh?
wherever you want. That's how you get here.
You go east or west?
That's right, you make the arrangements.
I'll follow. My late wife has a sister that lives in Raleigh and a sister that lives in Arlington.
We'll see y'all later.
So we'll go see one or the other.
And then y'all leave on the.
Becca's never been on a plane, so her first plane ride's gonna be.
Leave from Monday?
Alright, well.
Oh, well. 31st.
31st.
That's a
Been in
Tuesday.
the airport once.
Okay, that's a Tuesday. About 8 days away.
Where are you going this time?
Alaska.
Oh!
Yeah.
Annie just got back.
Did you?
Last Sunday.
Oh, cruise land. Cruise.
Cruise times.
Yeah, it was great.
Are you doing the land ride?
We do the land for 5 days and then the cruise for 7.
That's the way to do it. We did it the reverse, and I really, that's the way to do it.
Well, one day we stay in Juneau because that's where Morgan is.
Right.
Morgan's got some stuff.
See, our owner.
Your birthday?
Your birthday?
We'll spend that day with her.
Chris
She's
Gilbert.
celebrating your birthday with Morgan.
Those guys started the camp and then
Awesome.
this birthday.
She's there, she's like, never sure to
So
get
you
you
said
won't be
you
there
were
for
in
birthday.
Texas.
Yeah.
You did not know Chris and Courtney, did you?
Oh, my goodness.
I'm in school, I'm telling you. It's
Is
just
it
like
crazy?
summer is just about
Yes. Excuse me.
It's like, it's just all that Gulf Shores. So you need to get all your first cousins.
Wow.
I mean, it absolutely, I think, yes.
She said, well, what are we going to do after this? I said, well, we ain't doing nothing until November. What are you going to do in November? I said, well, I'm going to
Yeah, because I know next year, we get whatever it is,
That wedding.
we got a 50th, yeah, we had 2 weddings and a 50th wedding.
Yes,
absolutely.
What's that?
3 weddings. Joy of
Oh,
choice.
really?
March 15th.
March 15th.
Save the dates are coming in August.
Ever since we moved, well, 20, so our team, we actually were in her home for the first 3 years ever I was there. So, but the school's been open for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
so May 2nd, May
How many
15th,
teams y'all
and
are?
May. We're March the 2nd, March 15th, and May. It is all preschool. So what, I was curious as to what age is
November the
she
8th, 50 years.
Well, we have from 6 weeks to 12.
6 weeks to 12 age. Wow.
This class right here is like
50 years.
I'm in the 3.
50 years.
Pre-K.
No way. I was in high school. Impossible. Somebody messed up on the math.
What a wonderful place to take your child to school.
Well, it's, I was talking, somebody said the other day. It doesn't look fancy at all. But you come in, it's like you take.
Talking about where we were born, everybody
Yes,
born in Texas.
exactly.
Last place we got on the
And we are
airport,
so
they'll have to
similar.
tell
I
the
mean, it's
story, but it
exactly
was
the
one of
same,
the
but
best
we're not
ones.
fancy,
I'm the only one out of my
It
five.
feels like home.
I'm not born in
You know?
Texas, you
It
know.
So we're going through the
Every
checkpoint,
day.
the guy's checking our passports. He looks at Sharon's and he looks at mine, he said, hey, you, he says, how did a Kansas man get a New Jersey woman? She was born in New Jersey.
And I don't know how many days I was there.
I thought Tracy was born in Trinity.
She was born in
But I think it's just kind of good.
She was 6 months old before we went to town.
Say whoever, some old guy.
Tracy
Same
probably
person.
told you. That's a great story.
does.
the story.
I have no doubt you all have an amazing reputation. And she was big and just, did y'all, were y'all, is it, she lived there when, did she live there, Tracy?
I would have 3 years.
When she was little.
She was 6 months old.
I just had electrician there in college working that for
Oh
most of
my
life.
gosh.
So it was just, this is just, but I've enjoyed this probably more than
You know, I'm telling you, those children, they have a way that they get in your heart and they just stay there.
I can't work in the classroom. I'd have to do buses, I think, field trips, that kind of thing.
At the very end. My birthday was the third
Yeah, get away with it, yes.
And my daughter.
Yes, I did. I met both girls.
We were there 3 times, a little bit, so I think, I have seen them walk in the classroom, and it was just out of order, and they would literally walk in the door, and it was like,
One number
she
that
just
she
talked away.
celebrates, it was
And I
actually
said,
the day
how
she
in the
was
world
born,
do you
but
do that? She said,
it's
"Dad's gone
not
so
the
bad."
day.
No, it is not.
And they don't.
Kind of like being born on leap year.
It's amazing, it's just.
It's, and I don't know, it's the same with Alicia and me. I don't know what it is, but it's like we have this
Yeah.
amazing team of teachers, and there's 5 other teachers, with the 2 of them, plus the 2 of us. And it's like, you know, they'll just be crazy, you know, and the thing that's unique about our school is that all 45 children, it's their ages 3 through 5. And so it's preschool only, it's a pre-K program, and they all stay together. We haven't, so we had an in-home preschool, and we just loved that atmosphere, that in-home feeling. So it's just an open school, and the children basically stay together. So I'm thinking, you know, parents are saying, you've got 45 children together, you know, but it's because of the team of teachers that make it possible. You know, when you've got, the ratio's about 1 to 8. So, you know, that's less than what the state will
Well, my
allow.
mother taught me for 30-some years, and back in the day, when I was a little kid, I would go to school.
Sharon, we're going to have a cousin business meeting first.
I did about, even for them to have 30 kids.
Yeah, find out what you're going to do next time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's on out.
Yes.
But it was just, you know, and I don't,
Lane,
one day, Rachel's great, you know, it is good to have.
we're going to do a cousin business meeting in a minute.
I can get a picture of you.
Okay.
I love clams.
You're a call. I just married in, I don't have to do anything. You don't have to do nothing if you marry in, right?
Don't count on that.
No, you just have to tote everything.
That's it.
That's what I told somebody the other day. She said, what you gonna do? I said, I don't know. Sharon ain't told me yet.
When you marry in, you got a whole thing.
When she says pack your bags, I say,
Let's go.
okay, let's roll. Simple as that. That's what you're supposed to do, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Without that. No. This has been good. You know,
You're my partner.
You thought you were getting out of this.
I know the whole bag in there. Oh, you're not going back to that. Go back Monday.
Actually, we're gonna go back tomorrow. It sounded like everybody was leaving out tomorrow, and, you know, Gary's kind of got limited vacation days, and I probably need to get back Monday and figure out what screw that is today. Because I was leaving. What? I've worked for 2 days, and what? And
I got to thinking about it, you know, because I don't get the day after Thanksgiving, so I have to take vacation, so save that.
Right.
Because probably, maybe Jeffrey and the grandkids will be here for Thanksgiving.
There you go.
somebody asked me about Jackie, I just asked him today, I talked to David, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes he hangs out at my house for days on end.
Oh, man.
When he's in town,
Yeah.
the kids are there, and, I mean, it's better than us go here.
Yeah, at least he stays with Jim.
Yeah.
He's got room for him.
Well, he doesn't get invited to stay at my house.
That's right.
Yeah.
Were you sitting there this morning at breakfast when I was talking about Jennifer and Jason getting married and telling me that, maybe, I don't know if you were there or not, that she came to see us last month before we left on vacation. They were going to water the plants and stuff at the house and came by. She said, I was talking to Dad, she said, we're thinking about getting married next year on May the 4th.
Yeah.
And Dad says that you guys had an agreement that you would split the cost of my wedding. And I said, well, you know, there's kind of a little difference between doing that when you're 20 and doing it when you're 40. And she's like, well, why should there be? I've never been married before. What difference does it make whether I get married when I'm 20 or 40? Dad's willing, you know, but he wants to know how much you're going to spend.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, okay, here we go again. I thought I was going to pass this whole David and his manipulate. And then I was just sort of like flabbergasted, and we had another conversation about that a little bit later. You know, she goes on to say that David says that he's willing to go, or I think she's talking about the total amount, anywhere between $2,500 and $10,000. So if we give her $5,000, then he'll give her $5,000, and she'll have $10,000 to pay for the wedding. I said, it could be a $10,000 wedding. Now, I don't know, weddings may cost, I think weddings cost more now than what I think they do, but I did have the conversation that, you know, what you and your dad do is between you and your dad. It has nothing to do with me anymore. And she got all hysterical and ran out of the house crying, and then came in and said, you could have gone with David bringing that up. And I'm not quick enough on the trigger to say, you're the one that brought it up when you started this whole dialogue of Dad said you were going to split the cost. And anyway, so I'm kind of like,
I know, it kind of puts a cloud over it.
It did. It absolutely. I mean, I'm thrilled for them. I love Jason. He's a great guy.
I think we're gonna head out to the hotel.
Very good.
We'll see you there.
Yep.
Love you.
Love you. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Don't be giving me this.
I will.
When I work closer to home, we'll order that.
There we
All right.
go.
So give me a name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Jeremy. I'm first grandson. My grandpa.
He's our favorite grandson.
Favorite grandson. Yeah,
Alicia.
Alicia's son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get that? He's our favorite grandson.
Only one.
He's our favorite.
Oh, he's the
You
favorite.
know why?
Because he's the only
He's
one.
the one that I'm with right now.
There you go. That's how it works. That's how it works over here.
Well, there was a long time that Erica was known as either the favorite granddaughter or the favorite niece until Olive was born 3 years ago, and then suddenly it's like, oh, there's another girl. Jennifer was real bad about saying, Erica, you're my favorite niece, and Erica would say, I'm your only niece.
And I said, Joey doesn't get it. He hasn't quite caught up.
Someday you will. Someday you will.
Oh, thank you, Grandma.
Yeah, I think I'm heading back with Rachel, so I think we're gonna go meet you guys at the hotel. Love you.
Okay, love you more.
Okay.
This doesn't belong here, and I think we need to put chairs up. I think they were all up.
What do we need, yeah, what do we need to do?
Well, Brian said after they have their little meeting that he'll tell us what to do. Well, these chairs we need to fold and take. Folding chairs. Do you I'm gonna assume that goes there. Sorry.
I thought I saw some of those in the other room, but
Probably.
What are you gonna do with this, now? Is this where the city hall will be? That's what you said?
Actually,
He said it's
strip mall's what they said was gonna be here, is what Bobby said, and she was at the meeting that they
Well, why
had
does the
earlier
city
today.
not buy it then?
I think the city already,
because they want this to be downtown.
Saxon.
yeah, like a downtown Saxy deal, but this,
Okay.
but they said this was gonna be a strip mall.
Boo.
Yeah.
Restaurants, hotel, I don't know about hotel, restaurants.
Wouldn't be big enough for a hotel.
Well, and Bobby said that Saxy fairly recently went wet,
Oh,
and so
really?
they got like 30 liquor stores.
Wow.
That's what
Okay.
she said.
Wait,
Somebody said,
Pretty much what we
Pop
needed.
Hudson- It's a good thing Pop Hudson doesn't know that. He roll over his grave, I think's what
mean, I'm not.
somebody said.
Anti, but, I mean, I'd like to drink a beer about it, for sure. I can't drink more than that.
How do these
Close up
vote?
like a log.
Yeah, we went to Sam's and bought some wine because it's so much cheaper than buying
Oh
it
my
at
gosh.
home. But
Oh,
we-
to take home?
Yeah, to
Yeah.
take home because right now anyway, we can't buy it and they can't sell it in Sam's and Walmart and stuff. But that changes as of October 1st. We passed a law a couple of years ago that they can sell it in like retail stores.
In Lubbock, I think it's Lubbock, Texas. That's where we were. Or no, maybe it was San Angelo. Anyway, the Costco and Sam's have to have it like a separate building. I mean, it's the same building, but
Yeah.
you can't get it in the store. You have to go in a separate entrance. It's contained. So
It's really interesting what's going on at the moment. It's like in June, we had a primary election and there were 14 counties that had a liquor by the drink county question on their ballot. Because with this new law that goes into effect October 1st, the way I understand it is that if they should leave those,
I have no
just
idea.
like that one.
I can't think of
But
it.
like if the restaurants, right now, the only beer that can be sold in Oklahoma is 3.2 beer unless you
No
buy it,
kidding.
unless you buy it at the liquor store.
Okay.
And so counties that don't have liquor by the drink, the only beer that can be sold in the restaurants even is 3.2 beer. And apparently the manufacturers are going to quit producing the 3.2 beer
Right.
starting after October 1st because now the 5-point or the full beer is legal.
Right.
And so all these counties that didn't have liquor by the drink, it's like the restaurants and stuff are not going to be able to get beer any longer to be able to sell because they aren't going to make the 3.2.
Wow.
So there were like 14 counties that had liquor by the drink. And now there's another thing about Sunday sales, and they're all trying to do this deal about Sunday sales, but they can't do it.
No, 30, yeah. They had to have rule for 30 days and then be able to start issuing. They made the rules, now that they've got
I would call those white chairs, but I don't know how to do it.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
know?
Yeah, they just pull up in the front there. They just pull it tight.
Oh, okay.
You just stack them up by the front door. These go to the Historical Society office, but I'll have to take them over later. They're kind of
There,
tight.
I see, they're tight.